Peace, y'all. I am ICC, and welcome to episode 6 of Oddly Familiar. So far, we have covered many different series and many different companies. Well, in today's episode, we're going to change that up a little bit, and we're going to focus on just one series, Final Fantasy. As always, this is just for fun, and I'm not saying the songs were ripped off. They can be influenced or inspired. And last but not least, in my opinion, Nobuo Uematsu is one of the top video game composers of all time. I just want to clarify that I mean no disrespect in this video. So sit back, get comfortable, and let's get episode 6 underway. The first song on our list comes from Final Fantasy VII. This is one of my favorite RPG games of all time, and the soundtrack is as well. Almost every track is memorable, and almost every track is good. Well, once you make it to the SHINRA CORP, you will hear this tune. Now, this isn't one that I heard while playing, but the SHINRA song has been in my head ever since playing this game. It is very memorable. So when I heard this Led Zeppelin song named KASHMIR, around the 7-minute mark, I thought of Final Fantasy VII. The way that builds up sounds the same to me. I think it may have just influenced the Final Fantasy song because it's very similar, but it's only a small segment. Either way, I still like the SHINRA CORP theme song. Number 9 is from Final Fantasy V. Maybe some of the viewers didn't grow up with this game because it wasn't released outside of Japan until the PlayStation version came out on October 5th of 1999 when it was bundled with Final Fantasy VI in the Final Fantasy Anthology. But even if you have never played this game before, this song may still be familiar. Here is Piano Lesson number 7. The 16-bit sounds may kind of camouflage the melody, but not enough to where you can't tell what it is. It's a classical song, and you don't have to be a classical music fan to have heard this one before because it's been used in movies like The Truman Show. Here is Turkish March by Mozart. Now this one is obvious, and it was done on purpose, but seeing as it's a piano lesson in the Final Fantasy game, who else would you rather play? If I am learning how to play the piano, Mozart would be at the top of my list. If you really want to listen to the Final Fantasy version of Turkish March, I would recommend listening to the version on the re-release on the Game Boy Advance. In at number 8, we have a song from the very first Final Fantasy, and it comes from the MARSH caves. Once you enter, you hear this song. This one is very familiar, and it doesn't even try to hide it. The original song is very popular, and it has been featured in many forms of entertainment. Here is Flight of the Bumblebee by RIMSKY-KORSAKOV. The melodies are the same and basically note for note, but you can't sue anyone because most classical music like this is in the public domain and it's not copyrighted. So feel free to remake old classical songs even if it's an 8-bit rendition. Number 7 is a recent submission by one of our viewers, Mosh. I actually redid this video to include this because I liked it so much. Here is Final Fantasy VII, a track named Anxious Heart. has an electronic feel, a lot like most of the Final Fantasy VII music, but this one has an uncanny resemblance to a song named SPACELAB by the German electronic group named KRAFTWERK. I recognized this one as soon as I heard it, and it's actually kinda cool. So thanks to Haas Mosh for the submission. I would recommend listening to the entire SPACELAB song, after watching the rest of this video, of course. Number 6 is a track from Final Fantasy VII named Forest Temple. When you enter the Temple of the Ancients, you and your ears may recognize the music. The melody and the instruments are very close to another song, and the Final Fantasy OST uses MIDI, so it isn't quite CD quality, but when you hear the original song, Pink Floyd, Is There Anybody Out There?, then you just might recognize it. It has the same feel and the same aura, especially when you listen to the remastered version from the Final Fantasy VII OST. Number 5 is our first entry from Final Fantasy VI, or Final Fantasy III if you're from the States. This one comes from one of my favorite characters in the game, and not just because he has a dog sidekick. He is a ninja. Here is Shadow's theme. Now this one here is a little funny because not only is it an American TV show, it's an old Western cowboys TV show, while Shadow is a ninja. Kind of the complete opposite. And this is now the second time a theme composed by Percy Faith has been featured in our series. Here is Percy Faith's theme from the Virginian TV show in 1971. I do like this melody, and Final Fantasy VI has a great soundtrack. It's probably my second favorite Final Fantasy soundtrack, behind Final Fantasy VII, of course. In at number 4 and number 3, we have a double whammy. It's probably the most well-known song from Final Fantasy VII because it's one of the fight themes, and anyone who has played Final Fantasy knows you get in a ton of fights. Here is More Fighting. Now with it being a MIDI of an electric guitar like that, some of the metalheads might have picked it up already, because it comes from a song that uses an electric guitar as well. Here is Metallica, For Whom the Bell Tolls. While that was only a small section of the Metallica song, here is the second part of our double whammy, and this one has that riff pretty much throughout the entire song. Here is a song by Motorhead named Jailbait. For a fight theme, I think it does its job. Being influenced by a metal song while making a theme to fight to just seems appropriate. And yes, I kept the Metallica audio snippet short because I remember what Lars did to Napster. Number 2 is my favorite submission on the list. It's from Final Fantasy VII, and it happens to be at the beginning of the game. Here is the bombing mission theme. A lot of people might know that theme. It was one of the only songs on the Final Fantasy VII demo disc that came with Tobal number 1, but you will recognize this scene from the movie Terminator. Composed by Brad Fiedel, here is the tunnel chase theme. Now, I don't mean my favorite Final Fantasy song or my favorite original track, but just how Nobuo Uematsu was influenced to create that bombing mission theme and the way he mixed it all together. I think he did an excellent job. Number 1 is a song that comes from Final Fantasy VI. Some call it the Kefka theme song, but it's actually not. This is the song that plays during the battle with Kefka, and it's called Dancing Mad. While some call this piece of music an ingenious work of art, some of the rest of us thought it sounded oddly familiar. Here is a song by Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and it's titled TARKUS. There are a few incriminating elements here. When Dancing Mad was released, it was the longest Final Fantasy song to date, clocking in at over 17 minutes long. The Emerson, Lake and Palmer song clocks in at just over 20 minutes long. And if you listen to both songs, there isn't just one part that sounds familiar. I would suggest any Final Fantasy VI fan go listen to the song TARKUS. It is an interesting song after all. On a side note, Kefka's real theme song is better anyways. So there we have it. Our Final Fantasy episode has come to a close. Let us know if you guys like this style of Oddly Familiar. We actually do have a few more planned like this where we concentrate on a single subject, so feel free to comment with any ideas, and as always, thanks to everyone who submits any Oddly Familiar songs. We definitely appreciate it. I'm ICC. Thanks for watching. Peace.